Hi guys, it's Shannon and I'm back today with another crochet tutorial video. Today we'll be focusing on gauge and gauge within a crochet pattern. I'll be looking at my Lana Skirt pattern as reference to this and using it as an example, where we'll be creating a 4-inch square swatch using single crochet. It should be about 12 stitches by 13 rows with a 5.5mm hook, and that you should adjust accordingly. I'll be going over why gauge is important, how to create gauge, making sure you're measuring gauge right, and so that your sizing for your pattern comes out correctly. So to create the gauge, you're going to go ahead and create your slip knot. For the 12 stitches, we want to chain 13 across. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, halfway, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I know it calls for 12 stitches, but we need to add the turning stitch, so we're going to chain one more, 13. And then we're going to go ahead and start our first row, going across single crochet for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's your first row. Chain 1 and turn. Then you're going to just continue doing 12 stitches for row 2. And you're going to continue doing rows to create a square swatch that aligns with what the pattern calls for. For instance, this example calls for 13 rows, so we're going to hope that 13 rows equals about 4 inches. This is to ensure that you're using the correct size hook so that your pattern comes out correctly and that your size comes out correct as well. And just finishing row 2 with 11, 12 stitches. And then beginning row 3, I highly suggest doing halfway. Don't stop. If you feel like your 12 stitches isn't 4 inches yet, I suggest doing at least half the rows of what the gauge calls for before quitting. So we're on row 3 right now, and I will meet you back halfway to check our measurements, but continue on until about row 7 and we will touch base there. Now that you're about halfway done with your gauge swatch, we want to check your measurements. So you'll want to lay your piece flat. Again, you're using single crochet, so your piece might curl a little bit, so it might be a little difficult to measure, but just taking your measuring tape and then laying it across, you want to check that your 12 stitches are about 4 inches, and you can see we're about there. And then you're going to want to check the height of your piece and turn it, and you're about halfway done with the rows and 2 inches about, so that looks about right. So just continuing to complete all 13 rows to ensure that your gauge is correct and that you're using the correct size hook. If your gauge did not come out correct, so for instance, if your gauge came out too small, you're going to want to increase your hook size. I suggest going up, but depending on how far you're up, by a whole hook size or half a hook size. But if your gauge came out too large, you're going to want to decrease your hook to ensure that you're using the correct size. Finishing up your last row and that you've completed your gauge swatch, you want to go in for a final measurement. My piece is wanting to curl because we did single crochet for this demonstration, but make sure you follow what your specific pattern has written, taking your measuring tape, making sure that it's 4 inches across. And then taking the top down measurement, making sure that it's 4 inches across. And again, handmade is not meant to be perfect, so if it's a little bit off, it's okay, but if it's severely off, you'll want to change hooks. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel where I'll be producing more crochet content. Be sure to check out my website, shannoncreatesdesigns.com, for more patterns and to check me out on my other social medias. Thanks guys, stay tuned.